Greetings. Before I get into this one, I just want to say I cannot believe how much support I've gotten. My intentions when I started this channel was just to have a creative outlet, so to have any viewers is very unexpected for me. With that being said, it seems like y'all like the content, so the lore videos are going to keep pumping out, they're going to keep getting better, and I'll start covering a wider selection of material, starting with the Fallout series. When I first started playing Fallout, which was Fallout 3 to be exact, Ghouls always caught my attention. From their zombie-like appearance, their gravelly voice, and the run-ins that I had with feral ghouls always intrigued me. So today, we're going on a deep dive into everything ghoul related. Hope you enjoy. The best place to start with ghouls is how they're created. The transformation into a ghoul can vary greatly in duration, ranging from a few hours to as much as a year, contingent on levels of exposure to radiation. Despite the time taken, the age of the individual undergoing the transformation is irrelevant, with possibilities spanning from newborns to the elderly. There are two recognized pathways for ghoul transformation. The first, or fast transformation, occurs when an individual is exposed to a significant burst of radiation, such as being near ground zero of a nuclear blast. This exposure causes immediate and drastic changes, often resulting in severe trauma, unhealed wounds, and deformities. The alternate pathway, known as the slow transformation, involves prolonged exposure to lower levels of radiation. This method leads to more gradual symptoms of ghoulification and a less brutal appearance. In both scenarios, once the transformation is complete, individuals take on the distinctive ghastly appearance characteristic of ghouls. The extent and rate of these physical changes are largely influenced by the specifics of their radiation exposure. It's important to note that while radiation poisoning is typically fatal, ghoul transformation is a rare possibility. This transformation is not limited to those exposed during nuclear warfare, as individuals exposed to radiation from non-war events can also turn into ghouls. Starting with our first example, Camp Searchlight. Camp Searchlight, established in 2281, is a former NCR military camp situated at the intersection of Nevada State Route 164 and Highway 95 in the Mojave Wasteland. It was irradiated during the Great War, leading to a convoy diversion to transfer nuclear waste from San Onofre to Searchlight for safe storage at a fire station. The nuclear fuel rods were successfully secured, remaining untouched for over 2 centuries. Later, the new California Republic selected Searchlight as a military base, transforming it into a critical communications and logistics hub for the NCR Army, named Camp Searchlight. Despite its significance, it became a target for the Legion. Volpez and Colta, a member of the Legion, orchestrated a plan to intercept the camp's supply shipments, leading to escalating tensions and vulnerability within the camp. Seizing the opportunity created by the changing patrol routes and emerging gaps in security, Incolta executed a devastating second initiative. He dispatched a group of Legionnaires to release the stored nuclear fuel, unleashing a deadly radiation wave. The act led to immediate fatalities, with the surviving NCR personnel either transforming into ghouls or succumbing to radiation sickness shortly after. A minimal number of patrolling troops survived, uniting under First Sergeant Astor. Eddie Winter. Eddie L. Winter, living as a ghoul in Boston in 2287, was a pre-war mob boss with a notorious criminal history. Before the Great War, he led an Irish crime family in Boston, managing various illicit activities. In anticipation of the looming nuclear threat, Winter voluntarily underwent a radiation experiment to become a ghoul, hoping to gain eternal life. This transformation potentially marked him as one of the earliest known subjects of ghoulification. To further ensure his survival, he retreated to a secretly built, secure bunker where he remained for the subsequent 210 years. Desmond Lockhart. Desmond Lockhart is a pre-war ghoul who, as of 2278, resides in the Calvert Mansion. A 250-year-old figure, Lockhart played a significant role in international intelligence before the Great War, and deliberately became a ghoul for the sake of immortality. Despite the global apocalypse, his motivations and obsessions have largely remained unchanged. He foresaw the inevitability of the Great War and possibly had a role in the events leading up to the nuclear exchange. In anticipation of the nuclear holocaust, many global leaders and intelligence community members, including Lockhart, sought various experimental means for survival. These included controlled exposure to deadly radiation, as in Lockhart's case, as well as FEV, cryogenic stasis, AI consciousness transfer, and genetic cloning. John Hancock. In 2287, the ghoul known as John Hancock, born John McDonough, holds the position of mayor in the settlement of Goodneighbor. Before becoming a ghoul, Hancock's early life is marked by a turbulent relationship with his older brother, the mayor of Diamond City. Despite the siblings' antagonism, Hancock harbors a degree of affection for his brother. However, his brother's anti-ghoul mayoral campaign in 2282, which fuels hostility and violence against ghouls, severs their relationship. John's failed attempt to relocate the oppressed ghouls to Goodneighbor, a town under the control of a harsh mob boss, Vic, results in numerous ghoul deaths. As the situation deteriorated, John's mental state followed suit. He sank into a deep depression, entangled in drug abuse, including the use of jet. In a desperate search for transformation and escape, John experimented with a radioactive drug to induce ghoulification. The gamble paid off. Today, despite his tumultuous journey, he asserts that the euphoria and ensuing transformation were unequivocally worthwhile. Dunwich Ritual. In October 2077, within a mysterious religious chamber in the Dunwich Boar's Mine, 6 employees were restrained and positioned in a semicircle. A figure, clutching a knife, addressed them from a pulpit. This eerie ritual led to the transformation of these miners into feral ghouls, who remained undisturbed in the chamber until the arrival of the sole survivor. This location is home to 4 distinct feral ghouls, identified as the project managers of Stations 1 through 4, Bob Stanson, Bradley Ramone, John Hatfield, and Tim Schutz. Among them, Tim Schutz played a duplicitous role, collaborating with the Dunwich management to ensnare the others in this dark fate. RobCo experiments. In the Commonwealth, a concealed robotics research facility existed, operated collaboratively by General Atomics International and the U.S. Army Robotics Division. Situated beneath the RobCo Sales and Service Center, the facility was operational before the Great War. It was the epicenter for transhumanist medical experiments on prisoners, aiming for the advancement and production of robo-brains. The facility was governed by strict security measures, including protocols for rapid evidence destruction. The frequent disappearance of workers added to its ominous atmosphere. Behind 21 mechanically sealed doors and numerous security checkpoints, a brig houses dormant or dead feral ghouls, confined within locked jail cells with glass ceilings. An observation room above allows access to prisoner data via a terminal. Several deceased feral ghouls are strapped to gurneys, connected to floor tracks leading to laboratories and an incinerator. Along this pathway, a series of decontamination arches stand at a compulsory checkpoint. Beyond the cells, human remains, distinct from ghoul remains, lie, generally restrained or imprisoned. In a designated RoboBrain R&D room, stationary feral ghouls are visible, suspended within a tank, underscoring the facility's eerie and clandestine operations. The first thing someone notices about a ghoul is, of course, their appearance. Irradiation and slow transformation yield ghouls that maintain a basic human form, albeit with significant skin decay. Their appearance is marked by visible muscle, peeling skin, and impaired connective tissues, often distinguished by a lack of nose and ears, giving them a zombie-like appearance. The difference between a ghoul and an ordinary human isn't just at the surface level. There are also biological implications as well. Ghouls, characterized by their prolonged lifespan, owe their longevity to a specific mutation within their autonomic nervous system. This change occurs upon exposure to ionizing radiation with wavelengths below 10 picometers, commonly known as gamma radiation, which is typically lethal to healthy humans. This mutation hinders the normal decay process in the neurotransmitters along the spinal cord, leading to an indefinitely extended lifespan as cardiac and respiratory functions continue unaffected unless irreparably damaged. The mutation also results in extensive necrosis, rot, and other degenerative conditions like arthritis, cataracts, and glaucoma. This extensive decay can further be aggravated by a phenomenon where rotting flesh around sweat glands releases macronutrients, attracting flies that contribute to the tissue degradation. Despite potential appendage loss, Ghoul's radioactive regeneration allows for reattachment with retained functionality. This altered physiology necessitates adequate nourishment, including water and food, for Ghouls to maintain their systems. Their diminished sense of smell permits them to consume food considered repugnant by humans, and their robust digestive system enables them to subsist on any edible foodstuff. While Ghouls' resistance to common diseases is a notable advantage, they remain susceptible to specific diseases, including mental illness. This resilience, however, limits the impact of recreational drugs like jet on their systems, necessitating higher doses for effect, likely due to their enhanced regenerative properties. In cases of intense radiation, as with the marked men of the Divide, Ghouls can survive even lethal injuries like flaying. Notably, prolonged isolation with no air, food, or water has been observed to have no harmful effects on certain Ghouls, as their regenerative capabilities sustain them. There are multiple examples of Ghouls who went through extreme periods without basic sustenance, starting with Woody, who is displayed as a mummy for weeks in a deep sleep, or Billy Peabody, who is a young Ghoul residing in the Commonwealth in 2287. Before the devastation of the Great War, Billy lived in Quincy with his parents, Carol and Matt Peabody. On the fateful day the war erupted, Billy found himself separated from his family. Alarmed by the warning sirens and ensuing nuclear detonations, he sought refuge in a nearby fridge. However, this temporary haven became a prolonged entrapment. The fridge, lacking an internal handle, locked Billy inside, leaving him confined for 210 years. His improvised shelter is discovered near a ruined house situated between Neponset Park and University Point. And lastly, Coffin Willie, a Ghoul with a notably unpleasant odor, ventured to the city of New Reno in search of drinks and girls. His arrival was met with hostility, as the city's inhabitants harbored intolerance towards Ghouls. This animosity led them to bury Willie alive in a graveyard, marking his grave with a headstone labeled, "The dumbest son of a bitch ever to set foot in New Reno." Despite these physiological changes, Ghouls retain their intellectual capacities, often benefiting from their extensive lifespans by accumulating substantial skill and knowledge beyond ordinary human capabilities. They also maintain their sex drive, though they are sterile and cannot procreate. Their children, if any, are either adopted or have mutated into Ghouls alongside them. There is one notable exception, however: Saint Monica. Father Clifford, born in 2237, serves as the priest at St. Monica's Church in Rivet City. In his sermons, he recounts the miraculous tale of Monica's birth. According to Clifford, Monica's birth was extraordinary for two reasons. She was born to Ghoul parents, and she herself was born human, not Ghoul. Given that all Ghouls are universally sterile, her birth is hailed as a miraculous event. Clifford narrates that this miraculous birth took place in the city of Great Lanta, along the East Coast. Notably, all Ghouls commonly face the loss of hair and skin, resulting in exposed muscle and, in severe cases, visible blood vessels, bone, and internal organs, reminiscent of leprosy's effects. This loss, however, is unpredictable and the extent varies for each individual. In addition to these alterations, the vocal cords and the larynx of Ghouls are typically affected, leading to a characteristically raspy voice, yet this too is subject to variation. Some individuals, especially those in the early stages of Ghoulification, may experience minor vocal cord degradation, preserving a less raspy voice compared to those in advanced stages of transformation. Some have even avoided this affliction of the voice altogether, like the King of Swing, Dean Domino, a famous pre-war lounge singer, and those mentioned earlier that self-ghoulified. Becoming a Ghoul can lead to significant complications, including the possibility of transforming into a feral state, known as ferocious post-necrotic dystrophy. The full understanding of this condition remains elusive. It's recognized that the degeneration of the brain, which is unaffected by the spinal cord's regenerative mutation, precipitates this state. This degeneration, accompanied by heightened aggression and appetite, follows the atrophy of higher brain functions. The exact factors contributing to this transformation are unclear. While antisocial or isolated ghouls are more prone to the state, social interaction and community living do not guarantee immunity from this transformation. Instances of ghouls turning feral despite living in groups are well documented, suggesting the unpredictability of this transformation process. Two examples come to mind. Oswald Oppenheimer, also known as Oswald the Outrageous, is a non-feral glowing ghoul residing in Nuka World's Kitty Kingdom in 2287. He is one of the initial survivors who sought refuge in Kitty Kingdom during the Great War's bombing and subsequent fallout. Over time, leaking radiation began transforming the group into ghouls, and eventually, one by one, they turned feral. This left Oswald as one of the last non-feral ghouls in Kitty Kingdom, holding on to its steadfast belief that feral ghoulism, referred to as the affliction, is a curable condition. Oswald positions himself as a guardian awaiting a hopeful cure. Captain Zhao is the ghoulified captain of the Yangtze 31 submarine and the last aware member of its crew. Despite his calm and friendly demeanor, particularly towards the sole survivor, an American, he carries the weight of guilt for his role in the destruction of the Commonwealth using the missiles from his submarine. The guilt was further ingrained when his submarine, the Yangtze 31, struck a mine shortly after the Great War. The resulting radiation from the damaged reactor transformed him and his crew into ghouls. Over the next 2 centuries, Captain Zhao survived by scavenging from the destroyed city and defending against raiders. He gathered intelligence and information, hoping to repair his vessel and return to China to aid in its reconstruction, or at least die in his homeland. Despite the challenges from the Forged and other raider gangs, Zhao's determination to see his homeland one last time remains unyielding. His only companions during these long years have been his crewmates, who, unlike him, turned feral due to radiation poisoning. Zhao, unable to end their misery, keeps them close. The post-war world is home to several varieties of ghouls. First, we have our common everyday run-of-the-mill ghoul, as they are commonly referred to, who maintain their intellect and personality similar to ordinary humans. They can communicate verbally, typically wear clothing, and possess the capability to carry and use weapons. Despite these similarities, ghouls often face discrimination. Terms such as shuffler and zombie are used as pejorative terms against ghouls, reinforcing bigotry and prejudice. Some individuals use these terms to advocate violence against ghouls, asserting that they should be exterminated before radiation deteriorates their brain further, causing them to, quote-unquote, go zombie. Despite the offensive nature of these terms, some ghouls have reclaimed the language, such as members of Set's zombie gang and Raul Tejada, who refers to himself as Raul the Ghoul, the zombie vaquero of Mexico City. It's crucial to note that not all ghouls are peaceful. Hostile, intelligent ghouls who are aggressive without provocation exist, with notable examples being the remnants of Chinese spies, soldiers, and Special Forces units stranded in the United States post-Great War. Unaware or in denial of the global nuclear devastation, these remnant forces mistakenly believe the war is ongoing, adhering to pre-war objectives outlined by the People's Liberation Army. Glowing ones are a unique type of ghoul that have absorbed substantial amounts of radiation, enough to exhibit bioluminescence. They emit a distinct green glow, making them highly visible, especially in darkness. Despite their ghoul status, they often find themselves alienated by their non-glowing counterparts. Their overwhelmingly feral state is a result of the significant radiation exposure and the isolation that accompanies their appearance. However, in rare instances, some glowing ones manage to retain their intelligence and cognitive functions. Well-known examples include Jason Bright and Oswald the Outrageous, along with several unnamed ghouls in Necropolis and most of the technicians at the Gecko power plant. Engaging with glowing ones in combat proves to be a formidable challenge due to their enhanced resilience and their ability to release a room-sized radiation blast. This sudden discharge of radiation damages non-ghoul entities while healing their ghoul counterparts. Observations of feral glowing ones clashing or being pursued by normal feral ghouls have been reported, highlighting the division in varying levels of hostility within the ghoul community. Feral ghouls are a subset within the ghoul population. Having succumbed irreversibly to a wild state brought on by extensive radiation absorption, this exposure erodes their mental faculties, leaving behind only aggressive and instinct-driven behaviors. While they are sustained by the radiation they absorb, their existence is marked by unyielding hostility towards all living creatures, except for other ghouls. They often amass in groups, reinforcing their threat level. Regular feral ghouls, appearing in tattered civilian clothing, these ghouls are relatively easy to overcome. Despite their weaker stature, their pack-like clustering can pose significant threats to the unprepared. Feral ghoul roamers and stalkers, exhibiting heightened resiliency and potency in their attacks, these ghouls often wear ragged attire or none at all. Their enhanced durability sets them apart as formidable adversaries. Feral ghoul reavers. Standing as the most decayed feral ghoul form, reavers adorn themselves with metal armor and flight suits, partially fused to their bodies by radiation. Their absence of self-preservation, demonstrated in Fallout 3 by their willingness to utilize their radioactive organs as projectiles, highlights their perilous nature. Withered, gangrenous, rotting, and charred feral ghouls, representing the rarest and most perilous of feral ghoul subtypes, these ghouls exhibit an exceptional tolerance to damage and unleash significantly deadly attacks. Marked men. Marked men represent a distinct subtype of the fearsome necrotic post-human unique to the Divide area. These individuals bear the painful history of subterranean nuclear detonations in 2277, their bodies grievously wounded and flayed by the storms that followed. Despite the extensive, often fatal damage to their bodies, the high background radiation pervasive in the Divide sustains them, fostering continuous regeneration. However, this reliance on the area's radiation binds them to the Divide, unable to survive beyond its bounds. This confinement has led to the emergence of a unique culture among the marked men. They retain a degree of cognition, allowing them to wield weapons, construct outposts, and employ advanced tactical strategies, such as utilizing guard towers. Despite this cognitive preservation, they maintain an unwavering hostility, attacking all outsiders who dare to approach the Divide. Before we got the Fallout 3 that we're all too familiar with, there were two varieties of ghouls that we never got to see. Endless Walkers. Endless Walkers were intended to be featured in the cancelled Fallout 3 by Black Isle Studios, originating from a ghoul religious order called the Children of the Wasteland. Based in the remnants of the former Los Alamos nuclear testing facility, they suffer the harshest penalty imposed by the order, known as the Endless Walk. Convicted for various crimes, from murdering fellow ghouls to property destruction or dissent against the group's leader, Willem Clark, guilty members are stripped bare and exiled, forced to endlessly roam the desert wastes. Beyond the protection of the reservation, their survival is typically short-lived, counting in mere hours. A few might find refuge, but most meet their end, their state worsening into a miserable existence for those who manage to survive. Transformed into Endless Walkers, these ghouls endure the unyielding desert sun and high radiation, their skin toughening into hardened leather while their minds deteriorate beyond recovery. After a year of wandering, they morph into instinct-driven creatures, attacking anything on sight with their claw-like hands. Driven by an unyielding hunger, their leather-like skin grants them a degree of protection. Despite their rarity and solitary nature, an encounter with an Endless Walker is a haunting experience, marked in the memory of the few who managed to survive such a meeting. Another concept in the unreleased Fallout 3 title, born ghouls differentiate from their mutated counterparts, originating not from human transformation, but from birth. The creation of inhumane experiments conducted by Dr. Sebastian at the reservation, born ghouls are rare successes in the endeavor to facilitate ghoul procreation. Boasting a meager 2% success rate, cherished as the potential future of ghoul kind, Dr. Sebastian and Dr. William Clark closely guard and nurture their born ghoul offspring, which include only 3 known individuals. While resembling typical ghouls at first glance, closer examination of born ghouls reveals uniform lesions, exposed bone, and hair patches that appear purposeful. They exhibit enhanced resilience, strength, and speed compared to the standard ghoul, further distinguishing them from their mutated peers. The emergence of born ghouls carries potential implications for the future of the ghoul population. Successful and consistent ghoul procreation could gradually eliminate feral ghouls produced when radiation inflicts mental destruction, as newborn ghouls would not bear such afflictions. Ghoulification extends beyond humans, presenting as a potential mutation within various animal families. Animal ghouls exhibit traits akin to their human counterparts, including rapid hair loss, epidermal deterioration, severe eye conditions, and elongated lifespans. Prolonged radiation exposure may also transform them into luminescent entities known as glowing ones. Post-war America, spanning from New California to the East Coast, holds examples of diverse affected species. Notable pre-war individuals include Ruska, a circus bear from the Point Lookout area, and the Beast of Beckley, a legendary wolf in the Appalachia. Evidence of ghoulified domesticated animals emerges with the discovery of roaming alpha mongrels donning dog collars. The phenomenon of ghoulification also potentially affects non-native species such as gorillas, and leads some to speculate the existence of ghoulified blue whales, as reported by certain caravan guards. Ghouls have faced adversity throughout all regions of post-war America. In the summer of 2083, beneath Bakersfield, California, ghouls from Vault 12 were the pioneering group to initiate the reconstruction of civilization. They established the necropolis, also known as the City of the Dead. The city's decline began with an assault by Unity, a political and military organization led by the Master in 2157, leading to significant ghoul casualties. Despite a failed recovery operation, a negotiation for peace by Set, the leader of Necropolis, marked the establishment of Unity's stronghold in the town. This period of tense peace was shattered when the super mutants destroyed most of the city and its population after the Vault Dwellers' raid, resulting in a significant migration and the founding of various ghoul and ghoul-friendly settlements, such as Broken Hills in 2185, the NCR state of Dayglow around 2189, and Gecko in 2235. Although issues with equality persisted, ghouls were gradually recognized as equal members of society. However, the year 2242 marked the demise of both Broken Hills and Gecko due to their reliance on uranium trading and usage. In the Mojave Wasteland, ghouls were scattered, with no dedicated town for them. They coexisted with humans in various communities, like Freeside and New Vegas. The region housed the Bright Brotherhood, a ghoul community led by Jason Bright at the RepCon test site. This group aspired to leave Earth for a new world in space. Despite all of this, ghouls in the region faced selective acceptance, with Kaisar's Legion allowing them to reside in their territory, but excluding them from their ranks. For example, Raoul Tejada was permitted to live within the Legion's territory. The year 2277 witnessed a tragic event in the Divide, where nuclear warheads explosively transformed the battling Legion and NCR forces into ghouls. This incident rendered them as dead men walking, sustained solely by the intense radiation of the area, converting them into a legendary wasteland tale alongside the Sierra Madre, the Burn Man, and Big Empty. The Marked Men, as they became known, never ventured outside the Divide, bound to the radiation sources essential for their survival. The nuclear fallout profoundly impacted the densely populated East, leading to a significant emergence of ghouls within a year. People seeking shelter in affected regions who didn't succumb to radiation poisoning underwent this terrifying transformation. Early ghoul settlements, such as the Underworld in Washington, D.C., appeared, enduring as late as 2277. In contrast, regions like Appalachia witnessed a ruthless extermination of ghouls, regardless of their previous human connections. Ghouls, including transformed Chinese operatives stranded in America, often isolated themselves from the wasteland. However, in places like the Commonwealth, a more integrated existence unfolded. A prominent example is Diamond City, where ghouls were part of the community from its establishment in the 2130s until the 2282 election. This inclusivity came to an abrupt halt with the rise of a candidate named McDonough. Running on a Mankind for McDonough platform, McDonough's electoral victory, fueled by the upper stang citizens' votes, marked a period of widespread discrimination. His administration saw the forced eviction of ghoul citizens, casting out entire families into the unforgiving ruins without support. Despite the harsh exile, survivors like a refugee named Wiseman persisted, establishing the Slog, a prominent tarberry farm in the Commonwealth, and offering a new beginning for the marginalized ghouls. The pre-war mall, Valley Galleria, transformed into a refuge for ghouls in Appalachia, known to survivors as the Changed. Under Lucy Harwick's leadership, the Galleria's ghoul community extended a warm invitation to their counterparts, offering acceptance and unity. Despite this sanctuary, a prejudice against ghouls persisted, culminating in the brutal murder of Lucy Harwick and several others by Duncan McCann, driven by a vengeful hatred for feral ghouls. By 2103, amid the mass migrations and the rise of the Crater and Foundation settlements, sentient ghouls working alongside humans marked a cautious resurgence. Ghouls like Eugenie and Mordecai McCoy contributed significantly to the communities, undertaking various roles, including hazardous tasks in radioactive zones. Despite their crucial contributions, discrimination continued to plague the ghouls, fueled by misconceptions associating them with feral counterparts. This prejudice manifested in harsh policies, like the Settler Foundation's decision to shoot ghouls on sight at their gates. Even after recruitment for the Settler segment of Wastelanders, Penelope Hornwright had to resort to disguising herself with a full mask to enter Foundation, highlighting the persistent bias. The Crater Raiders exhibited marginal tolerance towards ghouls within their ranks. However, deep-rooted bigotry persisted, evident in incidents like Lev's cruel attempt to coerce Lou into taking his own life, exploiting the fear of potential feral transformation. The ongoing struggle against prejudice highlighted the ghouls' resilience and the dire need for societal transformation in the post-war world. And that concludes our deep dive. As always, I hope you enjoyed the video. I tried to read and reply on every single comment, so please keep putting out those suggestions, those opinions, or if you just want to say hi, that's cool with me too. And here's a little shout out for my $5 Patreon subscribers. We got the one and only Imperial Knowledge. If you're looking for more Elder Scrolls content, this is where you should look. He has over 400 lore videos, super well made, super knowledgeable. He knows way more than I ever could. So please, if you haven't already, check him out. Until next time, see you in the next one.